Hello, everybody. Just gonna adjust the camera because, of course, right when I hit the button, it decided to mess up. So, you're probably looking at the title of this video and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm gonna explain. First off, I want to say that I only have a couple more videos that I'm going to be doing in this format before I finally end up getting my video camera, and then things are going to be honestly, just looking and feeling a whole lot better. Probably about the start of the new year, that's when to expect some higher quality content. Um, that aside, we're also going to continue the chronological series. I'm actually going to probably record one, maybe two videos today, kind of double stack them, and I'll probably release that one later towards the weekend. I know I got to play a lot of catch up, so it's going to happen. Just please bear with me, give me time. Things are just busy while I'm transitioning into running an organization. That aside, the whole idea for this video actually came from about 2 to 3 different videos. The first one that kind of prompted it was a not so recent Mary Spender video, kind of going on about the finances of like how to make money as a musician. And she came up with these rules. I think it was about 4 or 5 rules. And I think it was a really good definition and a good way to start judging, like, hey, how are you really going to have a realistic term of success as a musician, and then how that kind of correlates to real world finances, business mentality, all that kind of stuff. Because at the end of the day, we are a product, and artists, music creators all live in a capitalist society for the most part. So you kind of have no choice but to market yourself as product. And that's just kind of how it goes. On top of that, there were some other things, not music related, so I'm not going to talk about them because that's not what this channel is. It's mostly about music. So I just want to give you guys an idea of where the idea was coming from, and then kind of how I'm going to present everything. So for a very long time, I honestly thought that I wanted to be a touring musician. I had relatively realistic expectations when I started off playing with bands right out of high school. Most of these bands I was playing drums in because I wasn't confident enough in my guitar playing or my songwriting. So I was in a support role. So in that mentality, I was really thinking about, I just want to show up, learn the songs, play them well, and fucking get on the bus and go to the next place. But I really didn't care for bringing my stuff as a drummer. And you're probably like, what the fuck? You are the most important like component where you have to bring all the things. I know. It's almost like I wasn't ever really supposed to be a drummer, right? This is going to be a bit of a common theme, a trend with my music career, right? So then I get a little bit more confident. I start my blues trio and we start doing things. And now I'm a manager of my band. And that means I got to worry about the booking aspects. I got to worry about the booking recording times. I need to worry about, writing the songs because I'm the primary songwriter. I need to wrangle practices. I need to get, and these things aren't necessarily hard, right? But it takes a level of dedication and commitment that an under 21-year-old did not have. And he had to wrangle 2 other people who were older than him to basically do shit. So that's not an easy task, especially when you've not had like a skill set refined over time. And I didn't really want to do those roles. I wanted to just play music, right? But you can't do that. In today's world, what am I doing right now? I'm on a phone recording something. This is what all musicians have to do now. It doesn't matter what your degree of skill, what your overall long-term goals are for success. You have to do it. You have to put out media. You have to, promote yourself in every way, shape, and form. This was still in a time period where the internet was, we think the internet is like this overall thing that's just been in our lives. It's like, no, I remember not using the internet that much in 2010, 2011 when my band was starting off, all right? And we did not capitalize on YouTube or Spotify. I don't even know if Spotify existed yet. We didn't capitalize on all those things, and that's kind of what made it more difficult when we started working our way up, right? But also at the same time, these avenues were still new, and even mainstream artists were still figuring out how to utilize these resources. And if not them, then the music groups and record labels that were, housing them. So there were always extra things that I had to do that I didn't fucking want to do, right? And now, as I get older, I kind of look back on one of the rules that Mary had said in her video was, you have to be willing to do all of these things, or you're not going to be successful. And she didn't really say it like that, but that is the overall insinuation. It's not a adherence to these rules in order to be successful. It's a, you have to do a certain level of things, period. If you don't do those things, you will not get anywhere. And I didn't realize that at that time I was nowhere near prepared mentally or even physically, because my hand started cramping up and I like couldn't really play as often as I wanted to at 20 years old. I kind of buried that and didn't think about it anymore. So years later, after the whole band imploded, after I stopped doing session work and joined the Navy and didn't care about music anymore, when I got back and I got discharged from the military, I started thinking about, all right, well, I was doing session work and I just want to find a band that's relatively established and just kind of like do their thing. I just want to play again. And I bounced between two groups during that time period. None of them really gave me anything I wanted. And I ended up just realizing that I was burnt out. Thinking about music in a business mindset did not make music fun anymore. And I just didn't want to write. I didn't want to write. I didn't want to play. I didn't want to do anything. Then, unfortunately, my time in the pandemic was spent working in a hospital, so I didn't even really have the opportunity much to write. And because my life was kind of going to shit and my mental health wasn't that good, most of the stuff that I was writing was of poor quality or was not of like really what I wanted to get out there. It was more of just a personal exercise to help figure out what's going on up here. And then, it's weird. Musicians probably do this all the time. You'll write something and you'll look at those lyrics and they'll just be like, why couldn't I just say that? Why couldn't I just think that? I don't know. That's something that only higher ups will know. But that's where my music was, right? But it was weird because at the same time, these songs that I was writing, when I didn't have this whole business mentality or this push to have to write content so I can go and play more originals at my shows, my work got better. And like substantially better in a relatively short period of time of being a musician and a songwriter. And I didn't realize at the time until probably really about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, that when all these people are giving me these compliments about how good I am as a musician, and I have to kind of shrink and like be very humble and be like, yes, I know, like, please don't bring it up. It's a touchy subject. It's because I'm starting to realize that wasn't the fit. That wasn't the right thing for me. And I'm not really sure what to call myself anymore. But I really think Mary kind of hit the nail on the head about those overall rules of what you need to do in order to kind of get anywhere as a musician today. And I kind of just think that I wasn't really supposed to be a musician. And that's, in all seriousness, why you guys don't know my name. You don't know who I am. You barely heard my work. If you can find some of the old stuff that I posted, except my album, like on the old internet, you're going to hear such a raw, unshaped talent and capability, and then stagnant. Nothing new, nothing extraordinary, nothing that would be worthy of a label taking their time. And I can say that with all honesty, having been a talent scout and also have years to reflect on this. But if you hear work that I put out now, it's almost of like someone who's been in this game for well beyond their years. I mean, all seriousness, I can put out work that you would think is absolutely from a top number one selling artist. I'm not joking. I know that's going to sound hilarious from someone who has maybe 10, 11 people who are subscribed. I'm 100% serious, and I have evidence of it. I've had people try to buy my work before. I've had people hear my stuff and go out of their way to put me in touch with people who are higher up on the food chain to help me get somewhere. And there's a specific opportunity that I'm going to bring up that would have involved meeting Jack White of the White Stripes. Long story short, my friend ended up winning tickets to go to Lola for all three, or I'm sorry, not Lola, Riot Fest for all 3 days, and he would have met with Jack White. And my buddy immediately called me. It's just like, hey, what are you doing on this day? And I'm like, well, I'm not doing anything. So I went and so the meeting was supposed to happen on a Sunday. He called me specifically because we are good friends. He knows I'm a good musician, and he wanted me to meet Jack White just on the opportunity that there was something musical that I could do. Unfortunately, this was during a time period where my mental health was very bad and my physical health was bad. My knee was still really terrible, and I stupidly spent all day Saturday watching these bands at Riot Fest. And by the time I got home at 2, 3 in the morning, my knee was so stiff I couldn't even bend it. So I had to call and I had to cancel. And to this day, I don't really feel that broken up about it. I still love that my friend decided to call me out of all the other people he knows, out of all the Jack White fans and, White Stripes and Racketeer fans that he knows, and was like, I'm wanting you there so you can meet this musician who could potentially help your music career. That's awesome. And to this day, I still thank him for that opportunity. But that's going to segue into some things. So I don't regret it. It's okay. Probably could have helped my music career. We'll see. But that was an opportunity. A lot of people think that it takes luck to be in a successful music career. I used to think that for a long time too. But then I start reevaluating my process and how I got to where I am today. And I start realizing that I don't really have luck at all. And in fact, I really only got bad luck. For all your Albert King fans. Like, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. So when I think about the times where I had, things kind of fall into my lap, I realized that it wasn't luck, it was opportunity. And I think musicians who want to be successful can heed the advice that someone who fell into opportunities relatively easy and can take that life lesson and apply it so you can be more successful as a musician. And it stems really from the last rule. I can't remember if it was the fourth or the fifth rule, but I know it was the last rule that Mary had said, which was networking. You have to be social. You have to be open, outgoing, and no matter how shitty your show goes or how tired you are, you need to put on that fucking face and you need to make sure everyone knows who you are. You go and you play a bar, you talk to everybody in that bar. You go and you sell tickets, you make sure all of your tickets have a face, a name, and that positivity so they will come to your show. All of your merchandise needs to feel like I'm giving you this gift even if you're paying for it. You know what I mean? You have to do that. So when I think about My Blues Trio, I think about the opportunities that lined me up. So for example, we were all in our first band together when we were in high school. I was a freshman. No, I'm sorry. I was a sophomore. Everyone else was a junior. Everyone was 1 year ahead of me. So I was the youngest person. I was the lead singer. The band didn't really go anywhere. We were trying to be like a fusion of all these different genres, and we were all over the place with skill. But we didn't really go where we wanted to go. And I ended up leaving, and then the band kind of stayed circulating with a rotating cast of people who all ended up kind of being in each other's lives for a brief period of time after high school. And then it just kind of went nowhere. But I stayed in touch with that drummer because he was the best drummer, period, in the fucking Chicagoland area. And probably still is because he tours with American English. And the bassist was just super chill, super cool with doing anything, and that left an impression on me. Both of those members of that band left an impression on me. So years later, when I started recording and playing with that drummer, I was like, hey, do you happen to know anybody? He's like, yeah, I do actually know somebody. And it ended up being that bass player who was super chill, super cool with learning things, and that's how I was able to kind of convince him to be like, hey, let's do originals, let's be an original trio, and let's fucking go do work. That was opportunity. That wasn't luck. The difference is I sought out bands when I was in high school. I sought out people who played music and tried to get myself out there. Then we look at another thing that I, even to this day, will still consider more fortunate than a lot of other musicians, and which is why I really love teaching at my school and why I love the concept of School of Rock. My family on my father's side is extremely musically inclined. My uncle was an Elvis impersonator and ended up touring Vegas. Excuse me, drank too much soda. Ended up touring Vegas and across the states before coming back to Chicago and kind of just doing his own thing. My dad was in a couple of different bands, mostly preferred to kind of be out of the limelight and be a sound guy. But between those two, they played a lot of Chicago's top venues. They got themselves out there, and of course, they fostered my musical capabilities when I started growing up. So I literally started going to bars to play with people at like 14, 15. And the only way we could do that is because, it was still the early 2000s. We weren't as PC as we were yet. But, there were definitely some times where I had to look a little bit older than I was. The point was, I got to play and get the show jitters out of my system. I got to learn how to wrangle a band on stage in front of people at a young age. I got all of this through opportunity because I showed my father, my uncle, and their bandmates that I was fucking serious. Now, don't get it twisted. I was not a prodigy. I was not a genius of music. And to this day, I still, even as a teacher, have plenty that I need to learn. And sometimes have to learn if I'm going to teach my students. Because I try to get engaged with them and I try to adapt my teaching style to their needs. But it was because I fucking wanted it. I wanted to go and do those things. And I could have tried a little bit harder, and I could have done a little bit more, but there was still enough to just get me the opportunities to go and do stuff. So now we had my band lined up, we had the skill and the experience. Now all we needed was the songs and the venues. The songs came because of brute force. And that's why some of my early work, things that I've already done through my chronological series, are songs that I love dearly and will always play whenever a campfire comes around or someone just wants to hear guitar and there happens to be one. I will easily go to default to these songs. I am not ashamed of them whatsoever. However, the content and the quality of those songs are not as good as they could be. And like I said, there's even a theme with me is that I'll really just do 2 verses, 2 choruses because I can't think of a third verse to like kind of really wrangle it. So the songs are shorter, the simpler, you got to throw in more solos and, all this different stuff. But the point is, I still had enough brute force mentality that I was able to pull out some things. And that's why I'm doing the chronological series, because you can see the natural progression of, hey, I had to do a lot of stuff to, no, we can take our time on these things to, holy shit, now what I hear in my head, what I think lyrics, that all comes out. We access a flow state, which I'm going to talk about again in a later video about flow. So we got that. Now the venues. How did we get the venues? So, a little secret. Networking, right? The most important rule when it comes to being a musician. I was fortunate that when I recruited my bass player, he was actually participating in a play at our local library, and he was with a guy who was a comedian. He had done stuff for years, and he ended up finally getting his own cable access show on Comcast. And he wanted to do like an Ed Sullivan, Letterman, like all that kind of shit where it was just like, hey, we'll have a band every now and then and like we'll have them featured on top of all the comedy bits. So I obviously was like, hey, invite him over. And my buddy's like, are you sure? We only got a couple of originals. I'm like, invite him over. Get him here, please, now. So he comes over and this is what's hilarious. I actually reconnected with him about a year and a half ago, and he was just like, man, I gotta tell you, I was ready to blow you guys off so much. The fact that I even went and sat through a song, like, you don't know how lucky you were. And to an extent, that's where we always have to take this with a grain of salt, right? These are opportunities that we brute force and made our way happen, but there is still an element of luck, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But he comes down, and he's just like, hey guys, I can't stay long. Go ahead and play a couple of songs, and we'll get this over with. So I think we got about 3 songs in before he stopped us. He's like, did you guys play any covers? We're like, no, these are all our originals. He's like, okay, so I want you guys to be in my first episode, and we're going to be filming at this location. Here's where you need to be. This is what I want you guys to do. So we ended up recording 1 song for the actual show. We did it live, and there is footage of that from one of the cameras on my on YouTube. I'll try and find it and link it. It's from one of those cameras. And then we recorded 3 other songs that were supposed to be like a compilation mix thing, but it was also because we were playing at a live venue, so we were obviously doing shit there too. So he did like sketch comedy and like he bounced between different things. So he filmed like 4 or 5 things at this place, but it was all going to be segmented, cut up, and then distributed through his things. So afterwards, we got to talking, and I was a videographer at this time, and I actually shot 2 of his episodes because his other videographer couldn't do it. So again, we're talking about opportunity, networking, right? So it's just like, hey, why don't you go ahead and do a solo song? And I did. That footage may still exist, and I'll try and find it. Not of my best work, but it was still something that I'm proud of because I not only was on TV twice, one of those times was solely me. And I was still under 21, so I think doing pretty good, right? for not knowing what the fuck they're doing. But because I recorded those, I was in his editing place, and he was just like, hey, you know what? Why don't you call your bandmates up, and we'll have you be like our season show band. And I'm like, okay, let's do that. So I think we recorded like 6 songs, half were covers, half were originals. And I remember he was struggling to get the rights to one of the covers, so we ended up doing another original a little while later. I don't remember which original it is, though. It wouldn't have been Sucker for Sex, which is ironically going to be the next song that I record immediately after this, because now we're starting our second album, chronologically speaking. And I know we did Gots to Get already, so I cannot for the life of me remember what that other song is. The point is, we recorded things, and after his season ended for his Comcast thing, he did end up getting picked back up, and we kind of just lost contact because there was like a whirlwind of things going on between both of us. So both us, the group, and him as a comedian, you know, touring and doing stuff. But it didn't matter because that set the stage for us to network, get out there, and do things. And there's so many other stories I could tell like that. Those are just ones that like take our founding and have propelled us so that we were playing some of Chicago's top venues that much quicker. So we were on radio and TV that much quicker. And again, I am not saying that we were skilled or competent enough to be in those positions through our skill alone. It was just simply through networking. So again, when I evaluate my life and I think about, I didn't want to do all of these things that you kind of have to do in order to be a successful musician. I still did one critical component of that, which was network. I put on that face whenever I fucking could, and I tried to impress the shit out of people. And now it's different. Today, it's more of a humble quietness. Someone's like, hey, can you do this thing? Yes, I can. I go and I do it, and they're like, okay, wow. Yes, that is in my wheelhouse. I know what I'm doing. So I never really understood why I was so salty about why my music career imploded. I lost all these opportunities. Well, I know why. Because I thought it was luck. And I wasn't doing anything anymore. I wasn't networking. I wasn't putting myself out there. I was bouncing in studios doing session work, but I wasn't taking up invitations to tour with bands. I wasn't taking invitations to join bands. I was just kind of sitting and literally waiting for luck to come by. Someone call me on the phone and be like, hey, I heard your album. I want to give you a fucking chance. Get over here. That's not how life works. We know that. But I was so devastated from my mental health and the implosion of my band that I just was like, I can't do it. I can't go out there. I can't put on that face. I'm so fucked right now. And that right there is single-handedly why you don't know my name. Because I misrepresented myself. I thought for the longest time it was luck, but it was opportunity that got me to where I was. And as soon as I stopped looking for opportunity, my luck ran out. And that's why I'm sitting here and no one knows who I am. No one knows what I've done. So these are important life lessons that I want people to understand. The reason why I'm doing these videos and getting these stories out there is not because I want to relive glory days. It's not because I want to give you a roadmap of things to do. It's because I have seen what works. I have seen what doesn't work. And I also know what happens when you mischaracterize what's going on. So, Is there luck in the music field? Absolutely. No one can account for the talent scout going to a venue on the day that you just happen to be doing, a big show. Opportunity would say that a good talent scout is keeping their ears open for who's pulling in a draw, who's getting talked about at the water cooler. I was gonna say coffee table and water cooler, and I did water table. Fucking yeah, right, science. These are the things that a good talent scout will do. But again, there's always going to be an element of luck. Sometimes someone just walks in at the right time at the right place. Sometimes someone has something that you need, and you're something you could give them, and it just works out. It's a perfect exchange. I'm not ever going to dispute that, but I will say 100%, you are always going to have more opportunity on your side than you are going to have luck. And between the two of them, I would always want opportunity. There's a quote I liked hearing in Assassin's Creed Rogue from the main character, and he kept telling everybody, I make my own luck. That's what opportunity is. You are so talented. You're so skilled. You're so competent. Great. Go show it. Go out there. Tell people who you are. Kick down the fucking doors. Get yourself out there. Because it doesn't matter how good you are, if I don't know your name, you're nobody. And that unfortunately is still the way of the world. When you have 20, 30, 40 people saying your name, you're getting there. When you got 2, 3, 400 people saying your name in your local area, okay, all right. Maybe you're something I need to worry about. 2, 3, 4,000 people talking about you? Well, we know how quickly something can go viral today, right? These are the things that you need to do. This is the way that you need to look at it. I like knowing that my skills only got me so far, but my perseverance is what got me higher. But the turnaround is, that's why I was sad, I was bitter and resentful that all these musicians, all these bands that I had played with, all this session work that I had done, these people are getting labels and I'm just sitting here doing nothing. Well, we know why, because I was sitting here doing nothing. I was waiting for luck. I didn't take the time to do these opportunities anymore. So these are the life lessons that I want to share with you guys. And you may be wondering, well, you're aware of the loop now. Are you going to break this loop? No, this ties back to what I was talking about in the beginning. When I look at that list, I never, scratch that. Years after my band imploded and I was with my wife, she was extremely supportive of my music. And even now, as we're divorced, she still really loves my music. She was like, you know what to do. You've been through the process. Why don't you do it again? Oh, man. I got to stop drinking soda before I do these. And I don't want this to go over a half hour long, so we'll kind of wrap this up. I just realized I didn't have it in me. I didn't have that dog in me. I couldn't find the motivation to get a bunch of people, go through the selection process, try and get people who are of skill, of like-minded, of, the same genre. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to fucking play to nobody again. I didn't want people to not care. And this, again, ties into what I'm saying before. So please don't get anything mixed up. I will be clear about this. What I have to offer now transcends a musician. I don't know what to call it. I think what a lot of people's safety net is just to say I'm a content creator. I don't even like that because that implies only a digital presence. I would like to just say that I am a creator. The things that I do, the works that I write, the performances I play, all of these things are just an element higher than a performance you see with a band in a bar, on a Friday night. And I can do those things. I have done those things from time to time. I just really value what I do so much and the work that I put out. I don't really think you can commodify it the way that a product needs to be in a capitalist society that you need to treat your music. So because of that, I do what I'm doing now. I'm still going to write my own work and I'm still going to put out my work over time. But I just don't feel that drive and that motivation to do those things because I'm onto something. I don't know what it is. It's bigger than myself. You know, it's like an idea. You know, you can kill a man, but you can't kill an idea. I think in due time, this process that I'm going through and getting out slowly and surely, I'm going to find a way to refine it, and I'm going to get it out there in the most concise way possible. But in the meantime, we're going to have to sit through these half-hour long videos while I give some dad advice. So thank you all for sitting through it. I really, really hope of all the videos, this is maybe the one that you guys watch through the most, because anyone could learn luck and opportunity, man. You can take luck so far, but opportunity will get you so much farther. You just got to put yourself out there to do it. And that being said, I don't want to hear nothing in the comments about people be like, well, why aren't you taking opportunities? Motherfucker, you do it. You do it first. I've already done it once. My mental health ain't where it used to be. I don't have the time. I don't have the drive, man. I just want to support people. I want people to take that energy, that aura, that good fucking just vibrations. And I want to see you guys do it after I give it to you. All right? So prove me right. Or conversely, prove me wrong. Tell me and show me opportunities that weren't opportunities, that was just luck that you capitalized on. I'm open for either or. Till next time, though, we got some songs coming up. We got some more videos coming up. And like I said, they're going to be in much better shape because I'm going to actually do video editing and record them properly. So y'all stay safe, take care, and if I don't see you, happy holiday.